Browns returning to the practice field here on Wednesday, getting ready for the 49ers. One player who was not on the practice field was Deshaun Watson, of course, the player we are all monitoring as the week goes along, Mary Kay. He did not practice on Monday when they came back from the bye, and he did not practice again on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's very, very significant that he's not practicing. Usually, when you get to Wednesday, and if your quarterback is not even out there on a limited basis, it does not look good for Sunday. Of course, never say never, because a guy can ramp up throughout the week and make it to Sunday. But it looks to me like it's trending in the wrong direction for Deshaun, and that he might have to sit against the 49ers. And of course, we know now who would start, and that is P.J. Walker. Kevin Stefanski announced that today. Dorian Thompson-Robinson would not get the nod after what happened against the Ravens. They would opt for more experience, and that would be P.J.
Yeah, Ash, 2 weeks ago, we were out here watching Deshaun at least out on the practice field. He wasn't throwing. Then the next day, he did throw a little. He even threw a couple passes that Friday, and now we're all the way back to him not even being on the practice field.
Yeah, and I still think the messaging is maybe a little bit cryptic and lending itself to, lots of discussion and angst on Twitter, which hasn't helped. We have a whole podcast episode that starts off with a discussion about that. But yeah, I think like Mary Kay said, by Wednesday, the fact that he's not out there, it's concerning, I think, given his chances to actually make that start on Sunday.
So let's spend a little more time on P.J. Walker, Mary Kay. You mentioned he is the more experienced player. He has starts under his belt. He started a lot of games last year, relatively speaking, for Carolina. And when you're going against a defense like San Francisco's, you've just got to have somebody out there who you hope can at least move the offense, not make costly mistakes when that pass rush is bearing down on him. And hopefully P.J. Walker, who's currently on the practice squad, will be that guy.
Yeah, it seems like that is going to be the way to go. And as you mentioned, against a defense like this, you need someone who the game has slowed down for a little bit. It's still too fast for DTR right now. And it looks like there's a chance Joel Bitonio, who has started 102 consecutive games, might not be able to play this game with a knee injury. We didn't see him out there today on the practice field either, or in the locker room, which is very unusual for Joel. So we don't know what's going on there, except for the fact that we did see him walk out on crutches last week, and he has some kind of a knee injury. So when you've got that going on your offensive line, center Ethan Pocic also, who is limited right now, you have to be really careful with who's going to start at quarterback.
Yeah, and Ashley, the decision to go with PJ, you almost didn't have a choice, right? After what we saw from DTR, you just had to do something. If it's not going to be Deshaun, it's got to be somebody who's been there before.
Yeah, I think it would have been really hard to put him in that position again, given that this 49ers defense is one of the best in the league right now. Them and the Browns are actually putting up some very, very, very comparable numbers. And especially after seeing what they did to Dallas, the way they rattled Dak Prescott, they would not let him get anything deep. I think it may have done more harm than good in a number of ways if you put DTR out there, especially from a young QB's confidence standpoint. I think that's also maybe an underrated part of this decision.
Now, Mary Kay mentioned the Joel Bitonio injury, the Ethan Pocic injury. There is some good news here. Myles Garrett was not in a walking boot when he was in the locker room. Mary Kay, we saw him walking around the locker room. He seemed like he was in a great mood. So obviously that's something. He had injured that foot. He left the Baltimore game. Didn't leave the game, but after the game, he left in a walking boot. So at least it seems like Myles is trending in the right way. And, he wasn't on the practice field, but I still feel like it's going the right way for him.
Yeah, he said after that game that he would be out there and that he would play. And, of course, we all remember that last season when he flipped his Porsche 3 times, he still got out there and played the next weekend. So he's one of those warrior, gamer kind of guys that will do whatever he can to be out there. I would expect him to play.
Yeah, and look, you got to have Myles. You got to have that pass rush. If you're going to have P.J. Walker at quarterback, you've got to have your defense up to snuff here, because they're going to have to try and win this game for the Browns probably.
Yeah, I think so much this season, especially even if Deshaun was healthy, while they kind of navigate figuring out this pass game, so much has to fall on this defense. I think the D-line is the engine of not just the defense, but of the team. So definitely at least a positive step in the right direction for him and Ethan Pocic, who was out there and he was day-to-day with a chest and knee issue after that game against the Ravens.
Okay, Browns and 49ers. There's still some time for Deshaun to get back out there. We'll see what happens over these next couple days. Whatever happens, of course, we'll cover it all at cleveland.com/Browns.